there's not much to say about the first act. He's a good friend of mine. He's Greek. There's not really much else I can say about him. He's a good guy. He's a funny guy. He's a classic guy. And I think he's the best guy to start the show. So a big round of applause, if you can. Mr.
Hey, thank you, Rob. Keep it going there for Ed. How are we all doing? Are all doing good?
Doing good.
All right. So, my second time here at the Club of Bonobo. I kind of like the place. You guys know bonobos, right? You know, it's a difficult thing, the idea of monkeys and stand-up comedy, because, you know, baring your teeth is like a sign of aggression to monkeys, you know? If it's like a chimpanzee monkey, you know, doing that laughing things, you might get your arms ripped off. But, you know, bonobos aren't like that. They're not violent, you know. They settle their differences by having sex.
Yay!
Yeah. You know, so whenever they fight, they just simply have sex instead. So my point is this: if you do find yourself watching a bonobo stand-up comedian, don't heckle, all right? Because the guy's going to respond in a way that you're not ready for. That's all I'm saying. But so generally speaking, you know, I'm trying to get along with life. You know what I mean? I'm finding it, you know, difficult. I try not to argue if at all possible, and so I'm not in a relationship anymore. I found it hard not to have arguments inside relationships, no matter what I did. And the funny thing is, it's like some of these relationship arguments are like the dumbest of all kind. You know, asked a friend of mine, he had a breakup during COVID. I said, was it over a very valid, you know, logical discussion? He said, of course not. I don't know what the argument was, but I know of the argument. I can tell you my personal experience. The dumbest argument I was ever involved in involved, I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, say what you will about Britney Spears, she had a better and longer career than Debbie Gibson. And now she went to the mat on this one. And if you don't know who Debbie Gibson is, it proves my point. Now the next day she apologized, as some women tend to do, not all, some guys do, but I haven't dated a dude. But she said she didn't actually mean Debbie Gibson. She meant Madonna. So yeah, I can see her point. You know, Britney Spears didn't have quite as good a career as Madonna did, but to go to the mat on something and have the wrong word, I don't know. You know, it shows how important words themselves are. You know what I mean? That it's just, it's difficult, you know, what all these words mean. Like another example from her as well, we had, I knew her from high school, so we kind of grew up in the same petri dish, and so we had the same experience with language and such, and I curse perpetually. Not as much on stage, but if you get me off stage, I don't even hear myself do it. And she's the same way, and because we're from New Jersey. And as it turned out, she pointed out to me one day that I've called her cunt, whore, bitch, etc. so many times, and she never took offense, because she knew I never meant anything by it. And I never had a reason to have a word of hatred for her. And well, one day, as the relationship arc was on the way down, we finally had a bit of an argument, and I said to her in the kitchen, I said, hey, listen here. And I didn't have a word, because I didn't own a word. I said, listen here, lady. And she told me later, she said, you know, you called me cunt, whore, and bitch a million times. Never once took offense. The only time you ever said anything that hurt me is when you called me lady. Because again, words, you know, is how we turn to what we do with them, you know what I mean? So I think it's interesting in its own way that we can do this at all. You know, and again, I spent 2 years home alone just grunting to myself. So for me, these kind of words and experience, I like it a lot. I find the whole thing very interesting. I'm not saying it's funny. I'm saying it's interesting. Like, another word, this doesn't necessarily make sense yet, but I was thinking about it on the train, you know, a lot of words are Greek words, like kleptocracy. Do you know this word? Basically, it's a bunch of thieves who want to run a country. You know, it applies right now. There's a bunch of kleptocracies around the world. And klepto, it comes from the Greek word klepto, which literally means thief, and ocracy, which I think means a Russian son of a bitch. I'm not sure on that one, I'm just saying. It's not. No. Are you a Russian?
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, you know. behind you and in front of you is now Russia as well. So, you know, I don't know. I'm an American. I don't brag either. So just, you know, take it as a word of advice. That's the thing about words in general. Again, keeping with the word theme, it's like the difference between famous and infamous. Very similar words. They both mean being well known, but to be famous is to be well known for a good reason, and to be infamous is to be well known for a bad reason. One of the ways you can remember is that when I was growing up, back in the 80s and 90s, Bill Cosby was famous. Now he's infamous. I tried that with Donald Trump the other day, but apparently it's too soon, so I went back to Bill Cosby, is all I'm saying. And, you know, again, words that just don't make sense to me. You guys speak a little Dutch? Doesn't matter. But, like, you know, the Dutch word for shoe is schoen, schoen, you know, which is a good Dutch up the same word. It's, you know, pretty easy, like Dutchify it, you know, it's the way I speak Italian, you know. Anyway, but the problem is this. The word for gloves and mittens, they just phoned it in and went with handschoenen. It's a hand shoe. I don't know, I find that one lazy, you know. So I've been trying to date, you know. I don't know why, but I've been taking my shot, doing a little Tinder dating. Of course, the problem is that I set my filter, you know, optimistically, and, you know, I don't get any matches. And I'm 56. It's true. Again, not funny. Painfully true. But a friend of mine said I should date cougars, you know, those older women. The problem is, again, at 56, my cougars are in their 70s, you know. So I'm dating a woman, she's 72, you know. It's getting serious, you know. And we decided that, you know, we're going to have a kid. She's not going to appreciate that. But again, I'm pretty darn woke, and in considering circumstances, I decided that, you know, I'm going to carry the baby. It's been about 2 years. And I think it's due any day now. But, so a lot of you guys are you any expat people here? Just a couple? You know, I think like a lot of people, you know, I came to the Netherlands for the food. But I stayed for the weather is my point. So, is this a big religious crowd? Hanging out at a bar? I'm not I don't understand religion very much. I wasn't raised with religion at all, and so I mean I just kind of learned it from TV. You know, you religious? No, okay, just a second. You never know. I could have been a lot. Yeah, you know, you got a little priestly vibe to you.
Yeah.
It's the beard, you know. But I've never quite understood religion in general. You know, as I understand the gist of religion is that, you know, God knows everything because God made everything. Since God has a plan for everything, which is comforting to hear. A little concerning when you look around the world, but nonetheless comforting to hear. But my question is, why would you pray? Right? I mean, what are you praying to? I mean, you're praying to God, but He knows what you want. I was wondering. You know what I mean? He made your problems. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, His plan was for you to get COVID and, you know, I don't know, spend a lot of time alone, eventually ending up at Club Bonobo. So in its own way, it's actually a pretty good plan. I'm not saying I'm complaining. I'm just saying I think atheists are more religious than religious people, you know, because we accept what God does, you know. I mean, I couldn't go to, like, church every week. I don't know what I'd say to God except for, great job, you know what I mean? And then, of course, Muslim people go 5 times a day, which just seems like you're really nagging God, you know? It just seems to me, it's like, you know, He knows, you know? He made, He planned, you know? Maybe that's why they have endless war. I'm not really sure about any of that, personally. But, anyway, let me see, is there an exit line out of here? I'm not really sure. But if this is wise, then you might, I don't know, question your own teachers. because I don't think it is necessarily a great place to get advice. But today's stand-up comedian is tomorrow's president of a lot of different countries. So you just don't know who you're seeing tonight. They might be funny. They might be tomorrow's president. I'm not running for election, but you never know. Anyway, that was my little bit of things. My name is Socrates. I'll see you again soon.